Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show, our usual Monday night roundup of the weekend's goings on here on the channel. I'm Chris Bell, joined by Stephen Downs and Gareth Walker. A little bit later on, we'll be joined by both Stephen Browne and hopefully as well Jayson Boocker. So almost a full house over the course of the evening tonight. Don't forget you can get in touch with us here on the channel. Let us know your thoughts and views on anything we discussed over the course of the evening show. Big thank you to Nick Stouse for getting in touch earlier. He just says, evening, lads. Evening, Nick. Hope you're well. Lads, how are we doing then? Let's start with you guys, because you had the better of the two weekends. I say weekends. It feels like an eternity since Huddersfield were beaten by Bolton. But we'll come back to that in due course. How are you guys? You all right?
I'm not so bad. Apologies if my internet connection isn't great. I couldn't have our usual catch-up, could we, before, because my internet were playing silly buggers, but it seems okay now, fingers crossed. Yeah, I'm not so bad. Had a busy day today, but not really had a chance to do anything regarding the City post-match or anything. I've just been so busy this weekend. But yeah, it was a great game. I'm sure we'll come on to it later on. A little bit disappointed that we didn't get 3 points, but it was a very, very entertaining fixture, and obviously we'll talk about that wonder goal later at some point as well.
We will indeed. Down to, actually, come think of it. I was going to say, how was your weekend with the town result? But actually, as you mentioned on Town Talk last night, your weekend was actually pretty good because it was Thursday night that was ruined because you played obviously before everybody else in League One.
Yeah, if you're going to get a defeat, you might as well get it out early, aren't you, and just enjoy the rest of the weekend while you can. Yeah, it was all right. Did some stuff. Went to watch a friend do a run and raise some money for a much needed cause in charity. So well done to her. But yeah, overall it was all right. Thursday night was rubbish, and I hate football.
That's a phrase we might hear a little bit often tonight, I think, over the course of it. We'll start with you then, Gaz, and we'll start with Bradford City, seeing as you took a point at the weekend. As we mentioned, Barnsley, it was a Yorkshire derby. It seemed to be quite a feisty little Yorkshire derby as well, by the looks of what I've seen across social media, both before the game, during the game, and after the game. But yeah, a 2-2 draw against the Barnsley side that are sniffing around the outside, kind of outskirts of the playoffs. Talk us through the game, your kind of perception of it.
Yeah, it was quite feisty. I wasn't on North Parade or Manningham Lane before the game, but I believe there was a bit of argy-bargy between supporters. Yorkshire derby, as you say, Barnsley, big away following, sold out the away end like Town did a few weeks or a month or so back. And it made for a really entertaining fixture. It was a good atmosphere between both sets of fans in the ground. City started the game well, like we've become accustomed to, really. Got the early goal and looked like we were going to push on from there, to be honest. It was a return for Jack Shepherd at centre-half, who was obviously a big player for us last year, probably the best loanee that we had, probably the best centre-back that we had last year. It had come out in the press, in the lead-up to the game, that City had inquired about bringing him back this season, but have basically been priced out of it by Barnsley. He had a bit of a mixed afternoon. He cleared one off the line. He threw himself on the floor looking for a free kick that the ref didn't give, that nearly led to a City goal. And I would say his overall defending, he was probably one of their better players. I think the Barnsley fans thought, reading their comments after the game, that he had been one of their better players. But yeah, the game as a whole, like I said, City started really well, got the goal, went 1-0 up, and it was all City really. And then Barnsley scored the equaliser totally against the run of play. I'm sure you've all seen it by now. It was actually from a City attack that brought down Alex Patterson, lost the ball, and you expected Barnsley to break because we had pushed everybody forward. I often comment when Patterson's in the team that when he breaks from midfield, he does leave a gap behind him. And you could see that there was a huge gap when Barnsley won the ball and you expected them to break and attack. And I was quite relieved when I saw him shooting from where he was shooting from, to be honest, because I think they had like a 3-on-2 or a 4-on-3. But yeah, it just sailed and the ground went quiet and it just sailed and sailed and sailed and you could hear a pin drop. And all of a sudden, Sam Walker seemed to react a little bit late and you saw him realise that, hang on, this might not be going over. He started running back, and obviously it's a hell of a goal. It's a worldie of a finish. worldly of a goal. And to be honest with you, Reyes Cleary, who scored the goal, was probably their best player, I thought, throughout the afternoon. It was a constant threat every time he got on the ball. And a real live wire for them. And for, I'd say, 10, 15 minutes after they scored, they had a decent spell. And we went in, we looked like we were going to go in at half-time at 1-1. But City regained the composure a little bit, forced a series of corners. I think one led to a free kick, which was worked in to Humphries, who scores with a little back heel flick into the corner to make it 2-1, and that's right on half-time. Obviously, Stephen Humphries against his old club. It was good to see him put in what I thought was a good performance. He built on his performance against Everton under-21s in the week when he'd scored, and him and Kavanagh had looked a real threat up front. Him and Kavanagh again both started against Barnsley, which was obviously a reward for the performances against Everton under-21s. Got the goal, made it 2-1, and we went in at half-time 2-1 up. And probably just about deserved to be. Second half came out, and it was end-to-end stuff, really. It were chances at both ends, quite feisty. Barnsley got an equaliser, like I say, after Humphries had gone through one-on-one. He'd gone through one-on-one to make it, could have made it 3-1. And didn't, and Barnsley broke, came up the pitch, had a little spell and managed to equalise with another well-worked goal. To be honest, it was a good move. I didn't think we possibly got quite tight enough to their attacking players, and it was another back heel flick into the corner to make it 2-2. Like I said, that came off the back of Humphries missing a chance to put us 3-1 up, and it was in a way similar to how their first equaliser had come off the back of a chance for us to go 2-0 up. So they kind of responded quite well. And it was kind of what you could have had. You could have been 2 goals in front both times, and suddenly you were level. And then again, Barnsley had a little spell after they got it back to 2-2, where they actually looked a really good side. They knocked it about, pulled us apart at certain times. I thought Luke O'Connell in central midfield had a really good game.
He's a good player.
Him and Reyes Cleary, probably the two, and possibly Jack Shepherd, the 3 standouts for them. I've been interested to see Kayla Dunn, because I know he was really good for Mansfield, but he did seem to do a lot but moan at the referee all afternoon. But yeah, after they had that little spell having gone 2-2, and you thought we could be on the wrong end of something here. But again, we made the subs. We brought on Will Swan and Andy Cook, and we regained the initiative again. And for the last 20, 25 minutes, it were all City. And you expected us to get the winning goal. You were waiting for it to come. We had chances. We had big chances. Cookie missed one, or actually forced the Barnsley keeper into a really good save. And then then Swanee could have had a penalty. As he's actually running away from goal when he gets brought down, and it's probably a dubious one that could have gone either way. It was late on. Maybe if it was in front of the City fans, we might have got it, as opposed to being in front of the Barnsley fans. And then Josh Nerfield, right at the end, nearly the last kick of the game, has a shot blocked. Looks like it's going in. So yeah, there were chances. Like I say, the big ones are probably the Humphries one just before we go to 2-2, when he could have made it 3-1. He's had a shot that's saved by the keeper, having gone through one-on-one, and Kavanagh with a follow-up lobs it over the keeper, but Jack Shepherd gets back to head it off the line. So yeah, it was a really good game. Like I said, chances at both ends. First time we've dropped points at home in the league. And just a little bit disappointing in that respect, but the unbeaten run keeps going, and I'm told after the game the Barnsley fans and the players were celebrating like crazy because they know what a tough place it is to come at the moment. So you've got to take that as people are respecting us and value what they can get out of Valley Parade these days.
Fair play to you guys. I think that might be the most in-depth single match review you've done for quite some time. That was absolutely spot on.
Sorry, I did rant on a bit there. Yeah, like
no,
I say,
no,
it's been a hectic day. It's been a hectic day, and I'm like pumped. So
before we just move on, I'm just going to bring in Browne, who's here to join us as well. Hey, mate, hope you're well. How are you?
Yeah, good. Just watching Brentford. They've just taken the lead against West Ham.
Yeah, just before half time as well. By the looks of it. I mean, Gaz, let's talk that Reyes Cleary goal. I know it was a Barnsley goal, but we've got to touch on it because, as I said, like the more I watched it, I put it in the group chat when we discussed it the other day. The more I watched it, the better it kind of seemed to get for me. Like there's been some brilliant like inside his own half, inside their own half goals over the years, but he's not even inside the centre circle in his own half. It's such a good strike, and also the height that he gets on it. I think that's what catches Walker out because it seems to dip really, really late to drop it under the crossbar.
He does, and I think Walker thinks it's going well over at first because when you're actually in the ground, you can't see it on the TV. Well, yeah, because it goes so high, like you say. But when you're in the ground, you can't see it on the TV replay. But in the ground, you're obviously watching the ball and you're watching Sam Walker. And he doesn't sort of initially react straight away. It's as though he thinks it's going well over, and then he suddenly realizes it's dipping. And when it actually goes in, if you see it on the TV footage, it almost kisses the underside of the crossbar as it goes in.
Yeah.
If it had been any lower, Walker would have probably managed to punch it over the bar. And if it had been any higher, it would have dropped onto the bar or over the bar. It's just imperfect. It's one of those goals where you've just got to look at it and say there's not a lot you can do about it. All right, Sam Walker maybe could have reacted a bit quicker. But like I say, when Patterson lost the ball on the edge of the Barnsley area, I was relieved to see him shooting because they had either a 3-on-2 or a 4-on-3 on the break. So you were kind of relieved to see him having a go from that distance. And sometimes you've just got to say, hold your hands up and say, well done, what a goal. It's similar to one that Rotherham scored, probably going back 10, 15 years at Valley Parade. Only that was closer to, it was in their half, but it was closer to the halfway line and sort of towards the dugouts, whereas this one was further back and central. When I was trying to explain it to you lads after the game, I was saying, you remember the Beckham goal years ago at Selhurst Park? Well, that, but a lot further back, because that was the only way I could think of describing it.
Yeah, it was an absolute peach. To be fair, I mean, I said to you as well afterwards, like he's a real talent. He's ready clearly. Like I'd seen him in the National League on loan from West Brom last season at Hartlepool, and he was on a losing side, but he was absolutely superb. He's something I'd seen in his younger days, actually playing for England under 18s, under 19s as well. I'm surprised that he's kind of ended up not ending up higher, to be fair, at this stage of his career than League One, but we'll see what happens. If he keeps doing that, he will do. As you say, like on the whole, a decent enough point. I mean, Conor Horan has then described it as a game that both teams deserve to win, which kind of says that a draw was probably a fair result in the end then.
Yeah, you could say that. I would say on chances, we had more chances. Obviously, I talked about them in my monologue 5 or so minutes ago. There was one thing I didn't mention. I obviously mentioned that the Will Swan challenge towards the end of the game that some people thought was a pen. I personally thought it would have been soft. It had been given. There was one in the first half where Jack Shepherd totally and utterly clotheslines Jack Wright. Is it Jack Wright? Josh Wright, the centre half that we've got signed this summer. Totally not really clotheslined him. How that wasn't given, I don't know. Yeah, it was a good game. Both teams played well. You could say draw was a fair result, but like I said, based on chances, I don't really remember Sam Walker having much to do, barring saving a free kick in the second half. I think they had one cleared off the line as well. Similar to how when Stephen Humphreys went through and the keeper saved it, and then Callum Kavanagh had the lob cleared off the line by Jack Shepherd. They had one in the second half where they hit the bar and then we scrambled it away off the line. But other than those two chances, despite it being quite an even game and them playing some nice football, we did have a lot more chances than Barnsley did. So that in a way is why it was a little bit disappointing not to win the game. But we're still unbeaten at home. Like I said, it's the first time we've dropped points at home in the league. And it was a good performance that we probably deserved to win. And like I said, the way Barnsley were celebrating after the game, fans and players, it shows what a tough place it is to come Valley Parade these days. Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a first happy look at the top half of League One then. For Bradford City, as you can see, it's stupidly tight. Let's be honest, 2 points separating first and sixth. Obviously, Cardiff won at the weekend. Stevenage lost at Lincoln. Stockport beat Exeter, and Wimbledon, they won at Plymouth Argyle. So, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, a point, not a particularly bad result, really, because of it's, I say, it's just so tight at the moment at the top of League One. Yeah, especially when you consider how well we played as well, Chris. I mean, like I said, I could go on and list all the chances. Like I said, we had a scramble off the line like they did. I completely forgot about that. But you look at the table and we could have gone top. We'd have gone top if we'd won on Saturday. Obviously, that was based on the fact that Lincoln beat Stevenage in the early kickoff. We have 2 really tough upcoming next 2 league games look really tough for us. We've got Stevenage away on Saturday, and then we've got Lincoln at home on the Tuesday night. So, they're going to probably tell us a lot more about whether we'll still be in the mix heading towards Christmas. I think we've got Burton next in the league after that. But yeah, Lincoln and and Stevenage will be tough games for us. And hopefully the fact that our home record is good will stand us in good stead against Lincoln. Stevenage will be looking to bounce back from their defeat. We're away at Stevenage on Saturday, but it's all so tight, like you said, down to sixth. It's anybody's game. Even Bolton. I thought after I watched Bolton against Huddersfield on Thursday night, I thought Bolton looked really good. So it's early on in the season. There's a long way to go. Just got to keep picking up points as best we can.
I mean, bring it on. Bring on that game on Tuesday night, a week tomorrow.
Oh, you've got.
Can I just say there was all sorts of hijinks. There was all sorts of hijinks going on behind that graphic. By the way, guys, if you'd have had the view that we had,
you're welcome.
That was like watching
something else.
I was like watching a theatre show. You know when they duck beneath a stage to like change a costume.
Yeah,
like
costume
that,
change.
You're welcome.
But far less effective than obviously a top professional actor or actress does.
I mean, looking ahead, Gaz, obviously, to be fair, I'm not around for the Monday night show next week because I'm up in the northeast, but I am making the trip back home for the Bradford game, obviously against Lincoln next Tuesday. But obviously, you say Stevenage on Saturday will be interesting. I mean, what would you consider a good points return from kind of the next couple of games, Stevenage away and Lincoln at home?
I'd take 4 points. I'd take a draw and a win. I think that'd be a really good return.
You mean a win and a draw?
Either way, Chris, I'm happy. What would you take? What would you take coming to Bradford?
To be fair, we had this discussion, didn't we, weeks ago when it was still scheduled for the 11th of October. I don't know how the game's going to go because I think I would imagine anyway that we continue to have the statistic of being the two sides that have the least possession in League One. So it's going to be an interesting one.
It certainly will. I mean, like I've said on the pod in recent weeks, City do better against teams that want the ball. You look at who we've turned over in the league this season, teams that want to play possession-based football. The toughest game we had certainly at Valley Parade, I'd even say probably including Saturday, was the Wimbledon game. I thought Wimbledon game was a hell of a fright. They looked really good because they matched us in how we wanted to play with physicality and like I said, not really perhaps wanting the ball as much as other teams do. So Lincoln will come and probably play similar to how us and Wimbledon played. I would imagine it should make for a really good game. The Wimbledon game was a great game, but then Saturday was a great game as well when Barnsley wanted the ball. It's just really good to be enjoying going to Valley Parade at the moment and having a good afternoon on a Saturday or it'll be our first Tuesday night game. I hope we all have fun on Tuesday night as well. I mean, some of you lads are coming to the game as well, aren't you? So hoping to meet up before the game for a beer and something to eat.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I'm slightly dreading it because, Downsy's coming along in the away end with me, Jay's coming along in the away end with me, and Lou's coming along in the away end with me. And if at any point in the match Lincoln end up going 2-3, 4-0 down, I'm just gonna leave early. I think I'm gonna take a leaf out of Downsy's book and head back early since I'm driving back up to the northeast after the game.
Well, a couple of them have already said that they're going to be. Well, Jay definitely said he was supporting Bradford that evening, so he would probably be better off in the home end than he would have been sat with you, to be honest. But we'll see how it goes. Yeah,
it's going to be interesting. Prediction then for Saturday and for the game against Stevenage.
I've not seen a lot of Stevenage, to be honest. I know they're doing well in the league. Like I said, they're second in the league. They've been top for a long time. They've surprised a lot of people, probably how we have as well. Like I say, I would love to take 4 points out of the next two games. If we can get a win on Saturday, that takes the pressure off Tuesday a bit. If we can get a draw on Saturday, I'd like to think we'd be looking to win. We'll probably be looking to win both, to be honest with you. The way we're playing at the moment, nobody wants to play us, but. Yeah, I wouldn't be downhearted with 2 draws, to be honest, Chris. I don't like making predictions because I don't actually know what's going to happen. I don't think anyone does, and if we did, we'd all be making a mint at the bookies every week. But a draw, either 4 points or 2 points from the next 2 games is my prediction.
Fair enough. We'll go with that, and we'll see what a week tomorrow.
Can I ask Gaz a quick question? Sorry,
go on.
Gaz, Are your expectations like going up every week at the minute? Are you? Because before, when we got into this season, you were saying, "Oh, I'd just be happy, kind of, consolidating." Like we're nearly in, November now, and City are right there, third place at the minute. Are you slowly kind of changing your own expectations and hopes a little bit?
You remembering this is Gaz, right?
I'm always reserved, as Chris has hinted at then. It's a dangerous thing, expectations with City Brownie, because we know what expectations were like in League Two, that they were to get out of the division every single year. And when that didn't happen, we saw how toxic it can get, how quickly. And I really, really, really hope that if we do hit a bad run, or should I say when we do hit a bad run, because I'm sure it'll come at some point, that fans don't start spitting the dummy out and getting all angry and if we slip down the league a little bit, because we've got to remember where we were 18 months ago. But you're right, the way we're playing at the moment, I've seen teams say, I think Barnsley said, fans saying that we're the best team they've played so far this season. I've seen other teams say that as well after the game. And like I said, nobody's wanting to come to Valley Parade. My initial expectation, or should I say hope, was that I think every year when you get promoted, your first job is to stay up. I was hoping or thinking that we could perhaps get mid-table, but the way we've started, you've got to be saying that I want to be, or I hope to be, given the start that we've had in and around the playoffs for the rest of the season. Now, I'd like to think that we can be playoff challengers heading into March, April, May at the end of the season. If we're in with a shout of the top six come then, it's been a very, very successful season.
Yeah, good stuff.
There we go. We'll see what lies ahead for Bradford City. Just before we talk Huddersfield Town and then Leeds, we'll quickly touch on our non-league scene. Halifax, the only National League side in action. They lost at the weekend. A late goal it was for Truro City. So Truro beat Halifax by 2-1 in the Northern Premier League. Guiseley, they were beaten 2-0 away at Warrington Town. Of course, their quest to find Mark Bauer's replacement goes on. Of course, any news that comes on that one we'll bring you when it happens in terms of replacing Mark Bauer. In the NPL East, it was a busy weekend for the sides across our region. As you see, Emily, they were told to Blythe Spartans in a goalless draw. Brett Park Avenue also had a goalless draw against Heaton Stannington. Pontefract went to Brilliant Town and got a good 2-1 win. Brighouse got a good point against a strong Dunstan side, finishing 1 apiece there. Garforth drew on the road at Concert. Silston picked up an excellent win away at Grimsby Borough by 1-0, which off the back of their midweek draw against Brad Park Avenue last Tuesday night was a really good follow-up result for them. And Ossett United, they got a good win as well over Blythe Town. So Avenue still in the top 3 at the moment, but they've played a couple of games more than Matlock and Redcar, who are the top 2 sides leading the way in that division. As regards the FA Vars, Liversidge were the only West Yorkshire side to progress into the next round for that one. And as Nick says, Silson's starting to settle in and ruffle a few feathers. That they are. As I said, they played all right when I saw them last Tuesday against Avenue. They were good value for the point in that game. Let's talk Huddersfield Town then, Steve. And look, as I say, it was a while ago. It was Thursday night, and it was a strange game, I think it's fair to say. Ahead at the break, ahead in the 90th minute, and then 2-1 down from the 95th.
Yep. Gaz did a very, very sort of rounded up match report for Bradford City's game. I'm going to do the same. Abysmal. That's it. That's all I have to say. It was abysmal. It was, first half, we started all right, which amazingly in the previous 11 fixtures we had not started very well, except for one. Sorry, Bradford. Actually, at Bradford, we started very well at Bradford, and we started very well against Bolton on Thursday. Got the goal after 7 minutes. Castledine puts it in with his head. I don't think he'll score many headers through his career, so that's definitely one to put on a postcard. But it got to the second half. I have no idea what Lee Grant has said to him at half time. I've listened, read, and taken many town views over the last 4 days. And I don't think I've spoke to anybody that understands what Lee Grant said to them at half time. Gets to the 60th minute, and pretty much everybody knows that Bolton are going to come back into this game at some point. It's just amazing to me that we get to the 92nd minute when Bolton score their first goal, and then 2 minutes later we decide to pile 8 people forward, leave 2 at the back. Harness puts what can only be described as a junior football crossing. Doesn't find anybody in the township. Bolton break, takes 3 passes, and the ball's put past Lee Nichols in the town net. Yeah, just abysmal, shocking, shameful, pathetic second half. And there's not a lot of positives coming out of Huddersfield Town Football Club to do with the football side of things at the moment. And as I said earlier, I hate football.
I mean, we could just leave it at that, but we don't want to do
Marcus.
that. We want to probe and see what we can get out of you. Obviously, there was a good program last night with yourself and Kane and Oliver on Town Talk. So, Town fans, if you haven't seen it, it's on the YouTube channel. You can go to and watch that in full. And it was a good in-depth discussion. Both looking at the kind of the tactical analysis of the situation and where things stand for Lee Grant going forward. And we'll kind of, I guess, start with that one. And Ian's simple question is, are the Town fans starting to turn on Grant yet? Well, we've touched on it before, and there was 1 or 2 that had been. How much was that increased by Tuesday night's second half performance and ultimately the full-time result?
Very much so, yeah. I said after the Stockport, up until the Stockport game, I think he'd sort of ridden a few disgruntled voices, but those are the ones that tend to happen every year. There's a guy called Terrier Nigel on Twitter. Just go check him out. Like, it doesn't matter what the club does. Like, the club could win the Premier League and there's be something wrong with it. So there's a current sort of people such as that were not happy in the first couple of weeks of the season. I think after the Stockport game, a few people were starting to get, it's looking a lot like last season. The players aren't listening to him, or there's no tactical ability there. He doesn't know how to change games. He's not learning from previous fixtures. And then against Bolton, I think a lot of fans have sort of made up their mind, really. I wouldn't say the vast majority, but I definitely would say it's getting on for probably 60% of fans now would say, let's have a look, see who else is out there. I don't think they're not saying like definitely sack him. A lot of them are, like quite a number of them are, but I wouldn't say the majority are. I think some of them are saying he's got a few more games yet in him, and then see what happens after that. I think he's got 5 games. I genuinely do. I think if we're still if we're in this or a worse position coming 5 games, I think he's had it. And he's got 2 cup games in that. One is the crap cup that nobody cares about against Mansfield, and ironically, he's got another FA Cup tie against Bolton.
I was about to say, whilst I look at those fixtures, Browne, have you got a question for Danzy? Whilst I look at those
yeah, kind of a question / kind of a statement about it. And I think we've had a bit of chat in the group. There's been a lot of back and forth about expectations and all that kind of stuff that we've talked about with Huddersfield Town. But I guess, and I pretty much know the answer to this, when you've spent all that kind of money, and big signings and everything like that, how frustrating is it that final piece of the jigsaw, the manager, it just feels like a decision where you've ended up going for someone who's just not got the experience, the nous, the personality to.
Well,
because Town is one of those clubs where I think you need a bit of personality. You need to have something about you to manage it. The last probably most successful guy that's been there, Warnock, isn't it? Really, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And I think I understand where Town fans are coming from when they're frustrated at what's happening in the performance and everything like that. Because if I was a Town fan, I would be expecting more this season. I would expect us to be higher in the league, definitely.
I think the thing is, Browne, like,
if I can just quickly add to that, I think one of the comments that I made to you guys on Town Talk last night, to be fair, off the back of what Brownie has just said, one of the comments I said last night was, like, of all the managers you've had recently, like that have not had the kind of resources, the one that you've given all the resources, the good budgets to, is the rookie holding a coaching manual.
Yeah, but Duff had a good resource last year. You know, we spent quite a bit of money last year. If you remember, we bought Deon Charles for 750 grand. We bought Joe Taylor for 3 million. Well, 1.5 million plus add-ons. You know, we spent money in the last summer on players. So he did spend good money. He did Duff, but I get the point. Like, the most frustrating thing for me, and Chris was bang on. I hate to say Chris was right on something, but he actually was.
Victory.
Right. It's once in a blue moon, is the lad, but he was right when he said he couldn't believe after the game. Lee Grant said, and he was directly asked, is Alfie May? Are you going to play Alfie May that you bought for 1.2 million, scored 16 goals last year for Birmingham, had 8 assists and scored how many goals? 82 goals in the last 4 years or something?
I did the maths. It was 82 goals over the last 4 seasons in League One.
And he was directly asked by, I think it was Louis on Radio Leeds, are you going to play Alfie May up top? Grant went, no, not yet. And that, to me, just stinks of amateurism at its highest. Why would you not play the best striker in League One in not his position? And I think it's blagged everybody's head. But the problem for Town is it's simple and not simple. Right, so I'll start with the simple bit. We're playing in our front four, right? In our front four, we're playing with 4 very small players. Like, really, they're not the biggest. So we don't really have a different option up there. And they all like to play in the number 10 position. So there's no width. We don't have any width. One of the things against Bradford was that, and pretty much every other game is, the opposition can get down our side because we don't have any width. And then when we're attacking, we don't have any width to put the ball into the box. So, Brownie, I kind of agree with you in this. Going back to your question, sorry, directly. It is frustrating, but I really wanted it to work for Grant, because the thing with Town is just like what Bradford have done over years, and to be fair to Leeds, going back even longer, you just switch styles and managers, and you go from an experienced manager to a young manager to a, you know, I mean, we went from Michael Duff, who is supposed to be quite an experienced League One manager. You know, all right, he hasn't got that promotion out of League One yet, but he was damn close with Barnsley. And we went from him, who we all said was a League One man, to Lee Grant, who had no experience at all. But he didn't have a director of football. And yet, ironically, in the summer, we probably signed better players without a director of football. It's just a total mess in terms of there's no strategy. I don't know whether the players aren't listening to him. I don't think he's a big enough voice. He talks in FA manuals, and it does made him. It's like listening to Danny Cowley, and you're like,
you can shut your face.
But no. But what I'm saying is, like, that's why I said it's simple and it's not simple, because the footballing, we all watch enough football to know how football should be played to be effective in any style. So it doesn't matter what formation, we can all sit here and go, if you play 4-4-2, this is the way 4-4-2 should be effective. If you play 3-5-2, da. But Grant overcomplicates it, because I think he's been on so many FA courses and that. It's just, he thinks it's harder than what it should be, and it really isn't. I don't know where we go, and yet I've sat here on this podcast for the last 2 years, and every time we've sat to manager, I've said I don't know where we go, and genuinely, I'm the same now.
Yeah, when you spend that kind of money, it's like, where do you go? Because like, it feels like you've recruited well, you've got the tools, you're picking all these managers. It's like, yeah, where do you go? Where do you go?
I've been slated. Sorry, Chris. I just want to make this point, right? I've been slated in another chat, right, which I need to get off my chest. There's nothing to do with the podcast. about me saying on one of our on the review show the other day that I did after the game, straight after the game, the review video of the game, I said I thought Town had the 4th best squad on paper in the division. I'm talking on paper, not on the pitch. On paper, Stockport's got a better squad, Luton's got a better squad, and I think Cardiff's got a better squad. How is that not? I don't understand how people can't understand that. Bradford, I've said all year since the season has started, I've given real big credit to Bradford City because they've come up from the division below. They were the better team against us on the day, and they're showing how effective football can be in this league. They are playing an absolute blinder, to put it bluntly.
But what were they saying? What were they saying in this group chat?
Well, they were saying to me, they didn't, because they're Bradford City fans. So I'm sorry, guys, like that. But you're very like, compared to you guys, they're not balanced at all. So they were saying that I haven't given credit to Bradford City because I've stated that, in my opinion, there are only 3 teams that I think have either got a better squad or a joint squad, as good a squad on paper as Town. And my point after the Bolton game was expectations are probably too high at Town, but they were always going to be in League One. They were last year, and they were even more so this year when you go and buy players such as Alfie May. You know, players like that. You bring Ledson in, you bring Harness in from the divisions above, you bring Watmore in from the division above. And yet, there's nothing. There is absolutely nothing there.
Is there a stubbornness from Grant tactically? Are we seeing him stick with formations, stick with certain players, or is he changing things and try? You know, is he almost doing the opposite and chopping and changing the tactics? How's he kind of been over the course of the season so far tactically? Is it just that he's? I remember this being a criticism of Michael Duff, for example, last season, was he was sticking with the formation and he didn't have the tools to fit it. Is Grant doing something similar, but albeit a different formation, perhaps?
Yeah. That's exactly it. So basically, there are a few players out at Town that probably would have now come into the side to change it. However, I can't give as much credit to. I can't. I have to be harsher on Grant because he's got young players like Dan Voss there, who's done really well in the games that he's come on. Cam Ashes scored a few goals and yet hasn't been given a sniff against Stockport really, or Bolton, to come on and change the game. You know, we have had a few injuries, but for me, Town's got a big enough squad to be able to be competitive in the games that we've been so far. And what in reality has happened is we've not been competitive, and particularly away from home.
Mad. It's a bizarre situation. And then I mean, look, I'm going to ask you anyway. Where do you go from here? Because I've just been looking at them 5 games just to run through them that we touched on. That is what kind of the way you're looking at it is that he's possibly got 5 games. So obviously you've got the trip to Michael Duff's Wickham on Saturday, followed by away at Bolton in the FA Cup on the 1st. That's followed by a home game against Mansfield Town in the EFL Trophy on Tuesday the 4th. And then, and this isn't looking easy, you're at home to Plymouth Argyle on Saturday the 8th and away at Cardiff. That 5th game is away at Cardiff City on the 15th of November. And the stupid thing is, even if you give him 7, Mansfield Town away, they're on decent form. And then you end November at home to Wimbledon, who again are in those playoff places. So,
but that's it.
Take out your cup games. It's a difficult set of league fixtures coming up.
Yeah, the next 7 games, like you've just said, you know, so he's coming up against Michael Duff, who we sacked last year. So I can only imagine that Duffel will be well up for this game, by the way. And since going into Wickham, I think he's only had maybe 1 defeat, has he? I don't know off the top of my head, but he's turned it round, I would say, quite well at Wickham because they were doing quite badly.
I'd say early days.
Yeah, it's early days. I mean, he did say quite a funny quote. I think it was him anyway. When he said that Wickham couldn't pass a ball since he's gone in, so that was quite a funny quote. But so that's good. I'm expecting to lose that game. at the weekend. I think we'll go there, we'll lose 2-0, we'll be weak. Michael Duff will play the formation that we all know he's going to play, and we won't be able to handle it. It's just a town thing to do, but to lose to ex-managers, so we'll definitely lose at Wickham. The cup game, I think he's got to try and beat Bolton. I think that Bolton Cup game's quite important, to be honest, especially after what happened on Thursday night. I think he's got to prove that the last 2 goals there was just a mad 5-minute moment, because that it looks bad if you go and lose to an opposition you've just played 2 games before. Mansfield in the cup, I'm not bothered about. He'll play the kids. I'm really not bothered about that cup. But then
the one game
Plymouth,
will definitely win.
but then, yeah, exactly. Yeah, honestly, Chris, you laugh, but it's true. But then Plymouth, Cardiff, Mansfield and Wimbledon are all very tough in their own rights. So Plymouth is not an easy fixture, as we well know. Cardiff, top of the league, they're not easy. Mansfield, like you say, are doing well under Clough. And to top it off, Wimbledon, very physical side, which Town are horrifically put up against this season. We just can't handle physicality, and Wimbledon will play it long. They'll win the second balls in the midfield. They'll be just stronger than us. I think he's definitely only got till the end of November, but I actually think he's only got 5 games, because if you look at the next 5, if he doesn't win, say if he only wins 1, that's what, 2 wins in the last 10, something like that. Kevin's not going to go for that.
You probably do have to discount the Mansfield game, because even whether it's a win or loss, whatever, it's the FL Trophy. So
yeah, I'm not bothered about it.
I'd almost take that one out, but then you take that one out and you replace that with Mansfield Town away in the league, and it doesn't. It's even harder, to be fair, rather than Mansfield at home in the cup, and that nobody really gives a monkeys about. I mean, Gaz, I'm going to bring you in on this. I know you had a question or two you wanted to kind of put to Danzy as well on everything Huddersfield at the moment.
It's twofold, really. The first one is, obviously, he's been well back this summer. I know you said that Duff was as well. But do you think, because of the amount of backing he's had and because of Nagel having changed managers a lot already, do you think he is more likely to give Grant that bit longer because of that? And if so, is he the right man that you should be giving this length of time to? Because I think Chris has alluded to this before.
I think we said this, yeah.
In that Grant hasn't got the experience, whereas someone like Duff, you maybe should have given that little bit longer to. So it's kind of twofold, my question, Downsy.
Yeah, I didn't want to sack Duff. I'll be honest.
I know you didn't.
I think, and I was quite clear on that at the end of last season. I thought, what's the point in sacking him when, even if we didn't make the playoffs, I wouldn't have sacked him, because I just think he would have sorted it out to some degree. I think you've just got to stick with somebody like him that's experienced at this level. Grant's a different kettle of. That's the problem, guys. Like, the same mistakes are happening from very much fixture to fixture. That's the problem. Even in the game against Exeter, we won 1-0 and we were very dominant, but I still don't. There were still the same issues there that had come up. If you go back to watch the review, I'm saying the same things as what I'm saying after a 2-1 defeat to Bolton. So, why is he not learning? He's supposed to be a tactical manager. Let's be honest. He's not a Neil Warnock, is he? He's not a, I wouldn't say he's a huff and puff sort of like pump your chest out sort of manager. He's very much a whiteboard or blackboard sort of like, tactical person where they'll go and analyze everything about the game, every little detail. So I don't know why he's not noticing the same things that 10,000 people are in the ground, which is, we're playing too narrow in the three behind the striker, and we're too weak with the 2 defensive midfielders. We've got one that can't pass in David Kasumu, but he can do everything else in the game, and we've got one that's supposedly come from the hardened Preston North End team, who's supposed to be able to tackle like mad, and yet he couldn't polish Johnny Ogg's boots. I genuinely wouldn't have him wouldn't have him anywhere near Oggy's boots. So it's a difficult one, Gaz. I like the massive expectation is because this money's been spent, and Nagel came out at the start of the season and went, "We've got to get promoted." Every player in their interview at the start of the season said, "Oh, we've only come to Huddersfield because we want to get promoted." So
they've got to show it, haven't they, Downsy? This is what gets me. They've got to show it, and the way that you're describing it is the same problems are happening where you go in a goal or two down, and there's not a reaction, and that's worrying because you've got some experienced players in there who've sort of been there and done it. You would expect the mentality to be stronger than it is, and also on top of that, this is Grant's squad, isn't it? Grant has built the squad. So if someone else comes in when Grant's been given because Cartwright left, didn't he? So you've got to presume that Grant has been the main influence on bringing these players in. So whoever comes in he's dealing with these players that Grant has wanted and Grant has signed.
What I will say though is, if a change was made, any manager with half a bloody brain
could see Alfie May.
Comes into a squad, looks at Alfie May, and plays him as an out-and-out striker. Looks at that squad and the lack of physicality in the forward line and thinks, you know what, let's chuck Bojan Radulovic, who I know isn't everyone's cup of tea, but is a big physical presence, and chuck him alongside Alfie May. Like, any manager that's been there and done it and has had, even a couple of 100 games in management somewhere, will be able to come in and look at that squad and think, right, this formation probably won't work. Let's play to the, let's use a formation that suits what I've got, rather than Lee Grant. He's almost going Amorim-esque of, this is my system, regardless of the fact that I don't have the players to fit it. I'm going to play it bloody anyway until it works, and it might not work.
He's very FA coaching manual.
Have we lost Downsy? I can't.
We've lost Downsy. Yeah, he's gone.
Am I back?
You are
Sorry
back.
about that. He's very FA manual sort of esque, where he's just like, you've just described it right, Chris. He's just very stubborn. This is my formation. This is the way I want to play, and it don't matter what. It's like hammering a square peg into a round hole, isn't it?
I could see that on Thursday night, Downsy, watching you on Thursday night, because Schumacher changed it up as the game went on. He did. And you could see, and I could see in that second half that Huddersfield just needed to swap things about a little bit and try and do something different, because Bolton were getting more and more on top, but he just didn't. He just stood there and left it as it was. And if I can see that watching 45 minutes of the game that I watched, and it's falling in with what you're saying is happening every week, that's a problem.
And that's what baffles me, Gaz. You've watched 45 minutes of us there. You've probably watched a full 90 minutes at City when we played at City, and then 45 minutes against Bolton. So you've watched 1.5 games against us. You can tell exactly what our issues are, and yet Grant, who's managed us for 12 games, can't. But the worst thing for me is, right, so there's two other points, because I know we'll want to move on. Alfie May waved his hands to the south stand in like the second half, like, come on, cheers up, whatever. And that's great, Alfie. Like, and we'd love to get behind you, but we've seen this scene literally hundreds of times in the last six seasons. We've watched it. We know what's happening. We know what's going to happen. So we're just going to have to sit there and take it, because we can't change it. There's nothing else supporters can do in the stands to change our mentality, because we know what's going to happen. We know, we've seen the story, we've read the script, and the book's been finished 6 seasons ago, because it's happened. And the second point is, like, he's had 12 games, so people are going, well, you can't sack another manager. I agree. I agree. I do not want to keep sacking managers. But if it's not working, why are we going to just carry on regardless with something that's not working? He did that with Darren Moore, by the way. You'll remember. He gave Darren Moore 22 games. And Darren Moore was the biggest reason we got relegated. because he gave him 22 games. Should have sacked him in 5 after we played Leeds away, but he didn't. So you either sack him now and you get someone in, and the 2 people I will consider straight away for getting in is Tony Mowbray and Nigel Pearson. But I know a lot of people will shake their heads at that and go, "Whoa, we don't want them. They're dinosaur, managers." Yeah, but I tell you what, the techno crap and they sort this squad out and they play to a system that works with what I would say is simple, understood football. Tony Mowbray does not overcomplicate his teams.
It's like I was coming back to what I was trying to get at before when I was saying that, like, you've just mentioned Moore got 22 games. Is he going to do the same where he's going to stick longer with the wrong person? And then you got rid of Duff where you probably should have given him longer. Do you know what I mean? It's like he's getting a little bit mixed up.
He got rid of Warnock after 7. And he should have stayed with him until Christmas. In fact, to be honest,
Darren Moore became available.
You laugh, Chris, but that is probably the biggest. It doesn't matter what Nagel does on the pitch. I'm talking on the pitch now. In his tenure, he will always be known as the man that got rid of Warnock after 7 games because he fell out with him over a Twitter spat. I mean, when that's your legacy and that happens in your first year of being in charge of the club, it's not going to go. It's going to take a bit to turn it round, isn't it?
The question is, Downsy, who can deliver Northern football? That's what we need to find out.
Yeah, I know, Brownie. I know that I know that you're bringing that up for a bite, but it's a load of crap trap in it. I mean, I
had to laugh when he said that, though. You had to laugh when you heard it.
It's a typical marketing trick in it to get fans on side. It helps sell season tickets. Oh, we're going to play Northern football. What does it mean? Nobody knows. I've still not spoken to one single person.
I've never heard anybody
what it means.
call it that. I've never heard anyone reference that or call it that or anything.
So does Exeter play?
What he meant by it, to be fair.
It was hinting that Lee Grant had basically said that's what he would deliver if he got the job. Now, can you really imagine Lee Grant coming in and saying, "I've got a plan and it's to play Northern football"? Kevin,
I don't think he's particularly Northern himself, is he?
What it was is Lee Grant in his interview said he wants to play fast, forward-thinking, attacking football that has real physicality and strong mentality within its play.
Now, what I will say is that, to me, does sound like the sort of football that Northern football fans would want to see. Attacking football in the opponent's final third, a little bit direct at times if need be. But the problem is he's delivering slow, tepid, turgid football by all accounts, looking at social media, even when you are getting wins.
Well, exactly. So he's stuck. So basically, what we're saying is he's stuck a George badge on Asda. That's what he has, right?
Hang on.
Just this.
That's the same thing, isn't it?
No,
George is part of Asda.
Yeah, well, it's a crap version, isn't it? It's a crap. It's like it's.
George,
just go with
hang on. You leave George alone. They do some bloody bargains.
All right. Okay. But what I'm saying is, like, he stuck a badge on something, and then the opposite is happening. So, like you said, slow, turgid, no tactical ability, definitely no physicality. And as Gaz rightly pointed out about 5-10 minutes ago, there's no strong mentality within the team either. Where I think if you say, right, we'll bring in Tony Mowbray, and if I sat down with Tony Mowbray, I'd say, right, Tony, these are our 5 key problems at this football club. How would you go about sorting them? And I bet you'd have answer to at least 4 of them.
Just before we wrap up with Huddersfield, I just want to touch on a couple of the comments. And Ian's kind of asked a question regarding the attendances off the back of 72 Cheesy's comment of saying that surely Kevin Eagle will get the hint with the attendances. I mean, have they been dropping off of late in relation to the kind of the way results have been, or not? Or is it going to be a case of when it continues, if the poor form continues, are you expecting a drop on the attendances?
Well, you wouldn't think so on the attendance announcements, would you? But let's not go by the attendance announcements.
Go on, man.
No. Let's actually look at since I go to every single home game.
Let me take a
Hello.
stab in the dark here. Have they been
No,
reading out attendances, including all the season ticket holders, regardless of whether they've actually turned up or not?
Right. If I cough, that means yeah. Yes. Right. Okay. So
Don't most clubs do that?
yeah, every club does it, Gaz, because it's a gimmick. Because when it comes to the end of the season, and people can go, "Oh, what was your crowd last year?" Well, we had, over 1 million people visit the Aku Stadium within the season. No, you didn't. Shut up. Right. So we had. So basically, I think that the what it looked like was against Bolton. I would say there was about 12,000 in the crowd, and that's included 2,000 from Bolton. So you can say 10,000.
I think it was 3. I think it was 3,000 from Bolton.
No,
according to
The away fans only get half the stand, so it's definitely 2,000. Because that stand only holds 4, and it's split into half. So, but anyway, it don't matter really, does it? What I'm saying is, to answer the questions, I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure he will be bothered, but he's not here, is he? So he's not. He watches it from afar, doesn't he? So it's hard for him to gauge. He comes back ever so often. I think he might come back once every 2 months or something like that. But he's not really seeing the impact on a match by match basis. I mean, the away attendances, as with every football club, will always be strong. We all support clubs that take fantastic away attendances. So, is the home attendance where you can look and you can go, that it is starting to fall off. But I don't know what the answer is, lads. I've sat here now for the last 3 years, and I don't know what the answer is, and I don't know how the clubs are going to turn it down, because we just keep going. Browne asked Gaz about expectations. Browne, genuinely, the opposite to Gaz is, I'll be surprised if at the moment if we finish inside the top 10.
I mean, we'll wrap up Huddersfield there. The one thing I will say is my favourite part of Town Talk was when, and Jay, you're like this, was when Downsy was looking for some support from Kane, because he brought up the fact that you and me have been discussing David Healy and his trophies at Linfield and how highly rated he is as a coach. And Downsy was there, said to Kane, "Is that the kind of manager you'd want?" And he basically said yes. Or depends on the style of play, I think, was along the lines of his
say yes.
But I'll say what he didn't say. He didn't say no, the Northern Irish League's a joke.
I didn't say that
That's
either.
what he didn't say.
I didn't say that either. I didn't say it was a joke. So any
Northern
Northern
Irish
Irish
football.
No, I didn't say Northern Irish football is a joke either. You're putting words into my mouth here.
I'm not getting involved, Downsy.
Believe me, I'm sure we'll all jump on me and Jay.
That's first time Jay's been speechless in a discussion with Downsy in God knows how long.
I dare, mate. Bridgewatch, I told you, like it's getting rough.
I wanted to come on. I wanted to come on here tonight and laugh at you lot losing to Burnley, and yet we did what we did on Thursday, so I couldn't do it anymore.
You can't ever lose to us. You can't ever laugh at us while we're losing in the Premier League and you're losing in League One, mate. I'm sorry.
I can, because I can do what I want. But even if I'm on a party of one, I can do what I want.
That's
anyway,
fair.
I'm sure we'll all pile on. We'll all pile on when it comes to the show that we'll end up doing at some point, the way things are going, of who's going to be the next Huddersfield Town manager. We'll all pile in with our own suggestions for that one, I'm sure. Let's turn our attention and finish up with Leeds United now that Browne and Jay are with us. As Downsy's gleefully alluded to, it was a defeat for Leeds at the weekend. Also at some Lancastrian opposition in the form of Bolton, in the form of Burnley, sorry. And we'll start with you, Browne. I mean, yeah, how did you look at that game before it kicked off? Because I know we had a little discussion in the group chat, and I looked at it thinking that's a game that Parker needs to pinpoint as a bit of a must-win. I know it's away from home, but it's one of those sides against a side that obviously came up at the same time. It'd be a bit of a must-win. Obviously, it didn't pan out that way. How did you see it before the game, and what was your take of the game?
you know, it was a bit weird. And me and Jay kind of referenced this on our review at the weekend that there was, I don't know what it was. There was a bit of a feeling going into this game, and everything seemed to happen to kind of magnify that a little bit. Probably the one being Noah Okafor coming out that he was injured, and it was, you know, declared. I think it was the night before or something, or maybe the Thursday. I can't remember which. And I don't know. There was a feeling in the air that it might not be great. I predicted a 0-0. I'd been very confident previous couple of weeks against Bournemouth and Tottenham. I felt we played well. We'd played well in those games. I think a lot of that's been forgotten at the minute. But yeah, I felt kind of don't lose it was kind of my attitude. Don't lose it. Didn't think it was must win, but it was you know, don't lose it. It was an opportunity to put a bit of daylight or further daylight between ourselves and Burnley. But yeah, it was a weird one.
Yeah, Jay, what were your thoughts again going into it? I know obviously you were more of the kind of, you know, you take a point before the game, and obviously didn't pan out that way at all.
Yeah, I felt, it's funny because I felt very similar to what Browne just said there. Like, the closer the game got, the more I kind of felt a little bit negative towards it. I don't know, it just felt as if it felt like they were always going to be more likely to win that game, and it kind of just played out like that, especially after the injury to Noah Okafor came about. Like, we have such a distinct lack of creativity, I think, especially away from home. You know, a player to just have them X-factor moments when he's not in the side. And that's a worry. I mean, you know, at the weekend, our most creative player was Brendan Aronson. And when you're saying that, that's a real problem. That's a real problem. So, especially against a team that sets up so well defensively, you know, that is their game plan. Home or away, that's how they set up. They had 4 shots on goal at home against our 19. You know what I mean? That gives you every kind of look of how they set up 30% possession to our 70. You know what I mean? That is how they're setting up. So you're going to need somebody with a creative spark to be able to open up the gaps. So, yeah, I wasn't at all surprised by the result. 2 moments of quality kind of changed the game around. I would have 100% taken a point at kickoff, because I think a point away at Burnley is 2 points further off them, if you know what I mean. Like, it's a 6-pointer, isn't it? So, yeah, you're not going to find me losing my mind about it. It's one game at the end of the day, and it isn't going to make or break the season. There's still 30 games of football to be had. A lot of football left to be played. You know, West Ham again are losing at home tonight against Brentford, as an example.
I'll tell you what, Brentford have been good. Brentford have been really
good.
I
mean, Brentford have probably
seen really good.
Brentford have probably been the surprise package of the season for me, because I thought they were going to absolutely bomb. And I've seen them a few times, and they've looked all right. They've actually looked good in certain games. They've looked good in games that they've lost as well. You know, I can't remember I think it might have been Man City. They absolutely battered Man City towards the end of the game. I think they ended up losing 1-0. Yeah. So, you know, they're making a real shift of it, even though the points are maybe not showing that up until today. They'd have been, I think they were just outside the bottom 3 before kickoff. So, yeah, it's a long drawn out season. There's loads of football to come. We still, you know, we didn't play poorly, I would say, against Burnley. I think on many another day we win that game 2-0 as well. So I'm just not prepared after 8 Premier League games to lose my mind. It's just not.
Yeah. I mean,
there's no point.
On that game though, like, you alluded to the fact that it was like 19 shots that Leeds had. However, and this is possibly still the issue for Leeds, out of those 19, only 4 on target. It's that kind of chance. I mean, it's not even conversion entirely. It's hitting the bloody target that seems to be the problem on Saturday as well.
There's a couple of things with it. So one, the shots can be a little bit misleading because the position of them isn't always to a high XG percentage, if that makes sense. So, like, it can be a shot from anywhere sometimes, can't it? Like, so it can be misleading. However, Jayden Booker's missed from 1 yard. He's put the ball over the bar from literally underneath the bar. Brendan Aronson's missed a sitter. Well, is it a sitter? I don't know. He's missed a good chance. He's missed a really good chance that the keeper saved onto the post. You know, there were other half moments as well, but you do definitely make a point in that we're not creating like gilt-edged chance after gilt-edged chance. That definitely does need to be kind of stated. But, you know, again, these games are made in moments. Brendan Aronson scores that. I genuinely think we'll win the game quite comfortably in the second half.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that's the turning point, isn't it?
Yeah, whereas, you know, they whip a ball in that only a serial Premier League winner can whip in Kyle Walker. He whips it right onto the head of Ogachukwu. And then the second is an absolute screamer. You know what I mean? Whereas at the minute, we're just having to huff and puff to score from 1 yard. You know what I mean? That's kind of, it feels a little bit like that. Me and Browne were saying in the review, it's felt a little bit like that throughout the back end, the last few games that we've had. Spurs was very much like that. It's just like we're really having to work hard to score, and they score 2 deflections. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping it's going to spin back the other way before, as Brownie said the other day, the negativity can creep in on the back of negative results. You know, so
it has creeped in now, hasn't it? Even from out where I was looking at, because I caught some of the game, and I thought we were chatting, weren't we, while it was going on, and I thought you dominated, and you made plenty of like half chances, like you've said, but you just don't have a clinical finisher, and I don't think Calvert-Lewin is the one. I think I'm still personally, and this is only a personal thing, and you'll probably disagree with me. I don't think Nemec's the striker that's going to get you 10, 15 goals a season, and you don't have that type of player. And I also agree, you don't have a sorry to bring him up, but you don't have a Rutter that can just create a bit of magic out of absolutely nothing. You've got really hard-working players, and that's great. But sometimes in the Premier League, when there's these close games, it does count on moments, and you haven't got a moments type player.
When I'm talking about the negativity, I'm not talking about the fan base, because the fan base are only one loss away from losing their heads, as they always are. I mean, we've seen it over social media over the last few days. I mean, again, all the great work that Daniel Farke and the team have displayed throughout the season has now kind of been undone again because we lose at Burnley. It's ridiculous. It's pathetic, actually. Yeah. I'm talking about the negativity to the team and the tactic and the plan that we're showing. We've shown throughout all of the games outside of the Arsenal one that we're very, very competitive. And I truly believe if we're able to maintain the performances of the Bournemouth and the Spurs game, as an example, we will pick up enough points to stay up. The difficulty comes in keeping them performances up, even when the results don't materialize into points, because then players start losing belief. That's what I'm talking about with regards to negativity. And we've not seen that yet. The performances are still of a standard which I'm not worried about Farke or the side. Your point with regards to the players, I think you're right. I don't believe that the problem is with the number 9. The problem is with the creativity before it gets to the number 9. I actually believe if we had an Emi Buendia in the team, as an example, Pablo Hernandez previously, if you wanted to pick out a Leeds player, I think we'd be creating enough really good, clear-cut chances for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, for Brendan Aronson, for Noah Okafor to score enough goals. At the minute, the quality of the chances that we're making is so minimal that, even though we're getting 19 shots, as XG was like 1.5 or whatever, which gives you kind of an imprint of where, and that includes Jayson Boocker missing from a yard. You know what I mean? So the quality of the chance that we're creating is low. That's where the problem is. So the point that you make about Jorginho Rutter downs is spot on. And me and Brownie both said the other day, like, if we had Rutter in this side, look at the assist that he makes for Danny Welbeck at the weekend.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. He picks him out of nowhere. It's ridiculous.
That's the player that we're missing.
But I genuinely don't think Nemec or Calvert-Lewin are going to get more than 10 goals.
I completely agree with Jay. Watching Calvert-Lewin, what he brings to the team, you sort of get a bit at the weekend. It was a bit more limited because of just the way the game went, but he does everything. We know he can't put the ball in the back of the net with his feet. We know he's a terrible finisher. He's one of the worst XG strikers of the Premier League last 5 years. We know all that. But I think, like Jay says, if you've got enough behind it, it can create different things. And I think what the problem was for me at the weekend, that balance was off, where we had kind of 3 very workman-like midfielders. We don't have that creative number 10. We have 2 wingers who, you're praising their defensive attributes more than what they can do with the ball, and you're looking at it going, well, what are we supposed to do here? And Farke, he said he was screaming out for attacking talent. We sat here deadline day, and I was gutted we didn't get more in the attacking unit, because it feels like we're literally relying now on Noah Okafor being fit, who has a terrible injury record. You know, and I'm not surprised that he's out. And how many more times is this going to happen? You know, and it's. I think the recruitment, we've got to be careful here. We can't say the recruitment as the entirety has been bad, because I think that's unfair as well. And if we hadn't have got a fullback in as cover, then everyone would be crying because we don't have fullback cover. So in a sense, you can't win. But the attack, there's no doubt about it. Attacking wise, we on those wings, we're desperately short, and it's a big problem. It's a big problem, and I woke up for the first time on Sunday feeling just deflated and a bit down about the prospects for the season, because I just feel like, you know, we're not really getting the rub of the green, the injuries. It's just, yeah, I just felt for the first time this season a little bit deflated with it all. The reaction online is absolutely crazy. People can't wait to start the Farker out thing. The only thing I would say with Farker is, because he's not perfect, is Bijol. You know, he's got to come in. And also, what do you think of this, Jay? Because I've been thinking about this. Do we need to see maybe a change in formation in terms of, would it be nice if there was something else he would do? Because I don't know about you, but I go into every game just thinking he's just going to do the same. It might have been nice if at the weekend it was 3 at the back. You haven't got the strongest wingers, so you got Goodmanson and Bogle as your wing backs, and maybe you do Piru and Calvert-Lewin for something different there. Tanaka coming in, I don't know. I mean, he doesn't feel like he's got that in his locker as a manager.
You know what I will say? What I will say in response to that, Browne, is I would challenge you to show me a manager that would do something that drastic as well at the drop of an hat. Like, most managers have a formation that they play, and then there's roles that change within that tactic or style or formation. Again, like, if you're rolling out in non-league or below, you know, you can make a drastic swap to maybe play 4-5-1 or 4-4-2 and it not make that much of a difference. At Premier League level, after you've drilled a formation from the first day back in the summer to now, to then go, right, okay, we're going to play 3-5-2 or 5-3-2, however you want to kind of say. I get it from a fan perspective, but I also then understand that this is a well-oiled machine. It's like changing, it's like a Formula One car modifying a wing structure at a drop of an hat. Like, it wouldn't compute out onto the pitch in the way that you think it would. I don't think, especially with such a drastic change.
Surely, though, like any manager worth the salt, apart from Lee Grant, has got the minerals and the knowledge and the experience to be coaching. And I appreciate it's through Farker, it's been, you know, set formations over the course of different seasons. But you have an alternative in your armory. You don't just train one sole formation. You know, it'll be doing other work, and because different games require different systems at times and different formations. You can't go into a game at any level, you know, every game with a certain system, a certain formation. I appreciate how roles can differ in the same positions.
We clearly have something that changes, Chris, when we're behind in games and we're chasing them, because, you know, he's now got into this kind of habit again of just throwing on all the strikers. But I think that's more down to the limitation of the options that we have on the bench. But, you know, I'll hark back to Marcelo. Marcelo wouldn't have done that, Brownie. He wouldn't. Marcelo would play 4-1-4-1, and that was it. And if we were chasing games more, he would say, do plan A better. And I'd like to believe that Marcelo's in the top 10 managers in the world. You know, that's my opinion. You know how I feel about it. If you go and look at Pep, Pep would look exactly the same. Klopp would look pretty much the same. Go and do plan A better. So I'm not saying that you guys are wrong. I'm not saying Browne is wrong here. I'm not saying that you're wrong, Chris, in the way that you're putting that across. But I don't think that it happens as often as you think it does.
No, I agree with that. There's only 2 managers that I can think that changes systems within games. One is Slot. We saw that against Man United. And I'm not just using that because it's the most recent game. I think he's done it in other games as well. And the only other one that I can think of that does it regularly, as it were, is Iriola at Bournemouth because of
Thomas
the stats.
Frank at Spurs as well.
The fluid systems,
Yeah.
though.
But I wouldn't say that they don't start the game with different systems. They just react within games depending on what they've got available on the bench and how the game's going, which shows good management. And if Farke can't do that, I mean, that's just his way of doing things. But I personally, I do agree with Jay that you probably see more lower down the pyramid than you would at top level.
I want to bring Gaz in because I'm aware that he's been sat patiently and he has had something in mind to kind of bring to the conversation on Leeds. So go on, Gaz.
You've probably covered most of it, to be honest, but my first point was that I don't think it was a must-win on Saturday. I know we were talking about it in the group chat. I would have said it was edging towards a must-not-lose for you. So it is disappointing that from your perspective, that you've gone and lost the game. The other point is you're obviously stuck with this squad now until January. You can't do anything until January. So what business do you need to do in January is my first question. And the second one is, how likely is it that you're going to have a change? Because you're saying you kind of said it's partly a fortunes thing where you're just falling on the wrong side of margins at the moment, and you're partly saying it's a lack of availability up front. So how likely are we saying that things are going to improve margin wise going towards Christmas, and how much are you waiting on January and what you need to do in January? What do you need to do in January?
Good question.
Well, we don't act in January, really.
Not
I mean, we've not acted.
You've got no bloody
we've not done.
Surely.
Well, yeah, but we're already apparently at our PSR limit. We know there was money there for a loan fee or transfer fee for Harry Wilson. I don't know who you can bring in at that stage. I don't know what the availability of players is. Ideally, you'd like another creative winger, or maybe you do bring in a number 10 specialist. But I mean, where are you going to find that player? How much money is there to spend? I'm not sure. But we're definitely lacking in that area because we've seen. For me, if Farke had got what he wanted, and look, managers don't get exactly what they want, they've got to adapt. But I would say even if we'd have had a fit Nonto or 100% Nonto, 100% Okafor, I trust Farke to get the results. I really feel like we've seen enough in what we've witnessed already that he can get us to that level. The problem is, for me, the balance was too far workmanlike and all that kind of stuff. We completely lacked any sense of flair, guile, creativity. So for me, it'd be trying to get more of that into the team, but I don't know how realistic it is.
Arguably, your best player's been Longstaff so far. I think he's the one that's added most to your team because of the experience that he's brought to the side. And I think your biggest down, but I've never been his biggest fan anyway, he's Nonto. I don't know whether he's been fit or not.
Nonto's not really played down to be fair to him. I mean, I'm not his biggest fan either, but he's been injured for most of it and then off the bench when he has been available, really. I mean, to kind of just sum up Gaz's question, first off, I'll just say it's funny because I said in the build up to the game it was a must not lose. We lose, and then I feel it's not a must not lose because there's still 30 games to go. Like, it's a stupid thing because I said exactly like it's a must not lose, but it meant nothing afterwards. Actually, it was like, okay, we're still a point in front of Burnley and we're not in the bottom three, so it wasn't a must not lose. It's such a daft thing to say at this stage of the season, really, but I get it. To answer your question on the recruitment, yeah, we need another creative answer, and we were both looking at the squad at the weekend and saying, even though Harry Wilson wouldn't have been the golden egg that we maybe were looking at, he would have still made a difference at the weekend and could have potentially created that one moment that we needed. So that is the desperate kind of player that we're looking for. In the meantime, we're going to have to make do with what we've got and make the most of what we've got. And up until I would say Burnley was probably the most worrying and disappointing performance I've seen. Because even in the defeats against Spurs and the last-minute goal against Bournemouth to draw that game, we've shown so much more than what we were doing earlier on in the first 3 games of the season, I'd say, in creativity. We need to find this balance right in being able to be creative with what we've got, but then still defensively resolute. At the beginning of the season, we were keeping clean sheets quite comfortably. We kept Everton to 1, we kept Newcastle to 1, both in the first 3 games. You know what I mean? So, and that were a big deal. Now we're conceding on average 2 goals per game all of a sudden. We're creating a bit more, but we're now conceding a little bit more. So it's finding that good balance. And I mean, Browne is saying about finding the creativity between this squad. If Okafor's out, this team doesn't have it. It really doesn't. Like, the creativity for me, if Jayden Bogle's not having a good game, is going long to Dominic Calvert-Lewin and hoping that something comes off of that. But he won't play like that. He ain't going to play like a Sean Dyche long ball. He's just not. It'll work every now and again, and he'll throw it in there every now and again, but it's not going to be the mainstay of the way that we build up attacks.
No. I mean, that's a worry, though, isn't it? I mean, granted, I take your point about Solomon last year staying fit and how we managed to get him playing 2 games a week after years of horrendous injuries.
Yeah.
My instinct with Noah Okafor is it isn't going to be the same.
His attitude's different.
I don't know why.
No,
yeah, and it's just he's huffing and puffing after 60 minutes. He looks absolutely knackered after an hour. I don't know. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but
I agree with you on the face of it, because I think Manor Solomon had that little dog in him. I think he just had an attitude about him that he was proving people wrong. I think Noah Okafor's got the opposite attitude. I'd really like him as a player, but I think he's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder. I think he's a little bit more of a baller, street style footballer that's very talented, but hasn't got the ethic maybe that Manor Solomon. Again, I hope I'm wrong, but that's how it feels on the face of it. You know, so
how much paying for?
15 million.
Yeah, something.
A lot of money for somebody to be sat on the sidelines, isn't it?
Noah Okafor will look amazing with the right manager and in the right team. He's a very, very good footballer. He
won't if he's injured.
Yeah, well, injuries are one thing out there. I think mental's part of it. I think some players are prepared to go through more pain than others, and some injuries will just follow some certain players. I don't know. It's a tough one.
He's the only one getting us off the edge of the seats this season.
Yeah,
he's the only one. When he picks up the ball, he can beat a man. He's exciting. He's got a lot in his locker. So we need him.
There's a good point there,
Browne. Already.
Browne, there's a good point. At least your goalkeeper's not getting you off your seats thinking, what the hell is he going to do?
What was that, Gaz?
Well, we're just going to say, like, where you talk or where Brownie were talking then, that you're saying you like your PSR and you were looking at a loan for Wilson. Does that mean come January, do you need someone to go out to be able to bring someone in? Is that where you're at now? Because Farker was saying, I think you touched on it before, and he was saying earlier in the year, like he was wanting more players in, he wanted more attacking players in, and he didn't get them.
Yeah,
the problem is, Gaz, sorry, Browne, I should let you answer. The problem is we don't have much sellable assets. Right. We really don't. We don't have. I think, if we had a Joe Bellingham, I think we'd have sold him on the first day of the window. But we don't have that level of return. I look at our valuable assets and think somebody might give us 10 million for Pascal Struijk, maybe. And I don't even like him, really. I don't even rate him that highly. Altanaka, I think, before a ball was kicked, would probably have fetched 3 times his transfer fee, 9 million, 10 million. Any more than that would have been too much of a gamble. Ethan Ampadu, you could probably say, would probably fetch 15 to 20 million now. I think he's at that kind of... But then you're losing your captain.
What about Anonto? If he's not playing, what you could is he someone you could move on and bring someone in that can play and can affect games?
We made a huge boo-boo, and I understand the club's position on it, because Nonto didn't have a release clause, loan release clause or transfer release clause in his contract, and everyone else did. So we had a situation where in that first season we had to sell Sinistera, we had to sell. Who else went out that season, Browne? Tyler Adams, Jack Aronson went out. There were a bunch of them, but yeah, there were loads of them that went out with all sorts of different clauses and whatnot. But Nonto, we could stand firm on, and we turned down 30 million from Everton for him, which it's insane. I mean, he was never worth anywhere near 30 million. And I think the reality is now he would probably struggle to fetch 10 million purely on potential. What do you think, Browne? I think a going rate for Nonto would be 10 to 15.
Yeah,
max.
We've kind of, it's he would have been the one where you would have thought, but each year his value seems to decrease. The longer we've kept him, he's just not it really. You know, he didn't play much last season. He was very much the third winger. We did miss a little bit of a trick, and that's where you've got to be on it with you. The thing is, you can't be frightened to sell players, not in the PSR world. You can't be frightened to sell players if you get a good offer. You know, you've got to take it. If you're a Leeds United, you've got to take it. You can't be hanging on. I mean, it's like, you know, when we got relegated and we got a 25 million offer for Harrison from Leicester in the January, and we cancelled his medical. And you're thinking, you know, why? You know, to be fair to Radrazani, he wanted that deal to go through. It were the 49ers who scuppered that one. You know, you can't be afraid, you know, just this idea that you can cling on to every player. Look at Bournemouth, they sell, Brighton, they sell, but they reinvest. It's what you've got to do. You've got to have that killer instinct. And I think, you know, hopefully we learn those lessons a bit.
What about Joe Rodon or Dan James? I mean, Rodon's a good centre-back for
Rodon's superb.
I think Rodon was the next one I was just going to speak on briefly, but we only just signed him for 12 million, I think it was, 10 to 12 million a year ago. Are you going to get double that? Maybe, after a really good season this season. But then you're leaving yourself so short. I mean, Joe Rodon arguably has been our best player this summer. This season so far. So, he's such a tough one, Gaz. We are hamstrung by the mistakes of our past under Rads, and how bad the recruitment was when we got relegated in that season is still impacting us now. So we've got to ride it out. Hope that we finish 17th and then get the fruits of the Premier League in 12 months' time.
I'll be honest though, I think there is a little bit of an issue next summer, because I don't think it's a case of we just get to spend a load of money when we stay up. I think we need to get some money in next summer, no doubt about it. And like Jay says, I don't know who the sellable assets are for any great amount of money, really.
That's why.
Just
lastly, and then I'll pass to you, Chris, because I know you've been desperate to get in. That's why the signings of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Metcher, has made so much sense.
Yeah.
You know, when people are going, well, 2 free transfers, the strikers, yeah, but that's how you're able to get that level of experience and quality, because we're prepared to take a risk on a free transfer and get them on a free, given their injury record. Like, because we're so hamstrung by PSR, them signings actually make so much sense. Finished.
There we go. Just before we go through trying to sell the entire Leeds squad, let's just take a quick look at the table. Then it hasn't changed a great deal. West Ham have been beaten by 2-0 at home against Brentford.
Wow.
So Brentford, from when I did the screenshot, Brentford, I think will. Actually, that might have been included. That I don't know. Can't remember when I did it. Point is, nothing's changed at the bottom 6 at least of the table. So that's as things stand at the base of the Premier League. And so far, it's only Wolves that look properly doomed, at least. And obviously, time will tell with Nottingham Forest as regards what they do. It looks like Sean Dyche is going to be agreed to come in there. So you would then fancy Forest to at least be safe and stick around. We appear to have lost Browne at the last second. He couldn't be bothered waiting for me to wrap up, but there we go.
Brentford are up to 10 points, Chris.
Yeah, 10 points.
I think that the bottom's going to be a super interesting race this year. We're not going to have the situation that we've had over the last couple. And, you know, Leeds could very well end up the wrong side of that line from a Leeds perspective. I'm well aware of that. But I think it'll be a really tough battle along the way. You know, like Newcastle on 9 points, nobody's saying that Newcastle are going to be anywhere near the bottom 3. And they've actually started really poorly, you know, including a draw at Ellen Road. You know, so Fulham looked really poor against us and got a 95th minute winner from an own goal from us. You know what I mean? Like, so there's plenty of teams kind of fretting and stressing about what's going on down at the bottom. And West Ham and Forest are going to be right in that. I actually think Forest are such a basket case right now. They will, in my opinion, be right in and around it come the end of the season because of Marinakis, and Marinakis pretty much alone. West Ham, I think, will be fine eventually. They reckon
Dyche is going in there, don't they, at Forest? He's probably the best thing they can do is somebody putting someone like Dyche in there at the moment.
Yeah,
but what I will say as a positive for you guys is that you look at that table, none of the 3 promoted sides are currently in the bottom 3.
Yeah.
And that shows you that is a positive, because you know what it's been like the last couple of years. We're nearly, 9 games in now, and those 3 teams, I think, are going to be down there all season. I really do.
Yeah.
West Ham's a must-win game for me.
Yeah, that comes on Friday Night Football this week as well, doesn't
Sorry
it?
to say it, Jay.
What a massive game! What a massive game! I mean, again, it's not, but I hear you. You know, like it's just not because we're 9 games in. But I hear you because again, like, where are you going to pick the points up? But then, you know, let's just say we'll lose to West Ham on Friday. The Premier League's the Premier League. We could then go to I don't even know who we played then directly after, but we could go to
Brentford, don't you? I think
Brighton.
We've got Brighton. Yeah, I mean, would it be inconceivable? I mean, we'd beat Brighton. Yeah, then we've got Forest. We've got some winnable fixtures over this next 3. It's definitely massive in the run up to December because December is rough. But you know, would any year be that surprised if we went down to Chelsea and won? Sure, it'd be a bit of a shock, but it won't be like, oh my god, like that's the biggest result we've ever seen. It's the Premier League. It happens. So I'm not prepared to say that any game at this stage is a must-win. What I will say, however, if we were to, again, I said this before the opening game of the season against Everton, it's a must-win for Farker. And I think that's a very different conversation. The Everton game was a must-win game because he needed to get off to a good start, given the fact that we had Arsenal and Newcastle directly afterwards. This one feels like a must-win for Farker because the noise will ramp up so much otherwise.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Let's leave it there then. Thank you to everyone that's been watching and has commented over the course of the evening. Jay, I'm going to assume that you and Browne will be popping up with some preview show ahead of the West Ham game on Friday night.
Thursday morning, around 11 o'clock, we'll be on.
There we go. And if you can't catch it live, it'll be on the YouTube channel as well, which will get shared out across our social media. Of course, we're on X and on Facebook as well. So you can find us on there. Just search for the West Yorkshire Football Show. From myself and from Gareth Walker, Jayson Boocker, Stephen Downs, and Stephen Browne. Big thank you to everyone that has joined us over the course of the evening tonight. We're back with you next week. Well, some of the lads will be back with you next week. I'm away for that one. But we will be back next Monday with a roundtable discussion. We'll see you soon. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night.